from the station that's taking action for you. This is an Action News 5 breaking news alert.
They come around pretty much all day, every day, and they circle the block, but they're only one person. You know, it only takes a second for them to leave the area and then boom, you know, something happens.
The words many are saying after they are fed up with gun violence in the city. 3 people are in the hospital this morning after an overnight shooting in Orange Mound. Hear from the witness of that crime. Plus, a key witness that took the stand yesterday in the trial of Billy Ray Turner describes the detailed plot to kill the former NBA Grizzlies star. A look at what's ahead in court today. And rescuers are scrambling to search for survivors after Russia continues airstrikes on Ukraine, where hundreds are taking refuge. A look at the destructive scene. Well, good Friday morning, and thank you for joining me for Action News 5 at 6 a.m. I'm Noah Sershin in for join Andrew. We're in for a soggy Friday morning commute as the rain is making its way out of here. Aaron Thomas has a look at the roadways, but first, let's get a check of our forecast with First Alert meteorologist Brittany Bryant.
The rain is actually moving its way out of here, at least this first batch. Areas like Shelby County, eastern Arkansas now dry on First Alert Doppler radar. First Alert, though, if you're heading out the door for Alcorn, McNairy County, still pouring there. Also a few strikes of lightning just south of Corinth. You may be hearing those rumbles of thunder, but none of this is severe. Some rain down towards Walnut, Ripley, Holly Springs, Abbeville, Oxford. Some light rain in Fayette County still lingering around, but overall, most of us have started to clear out in Fayette County and Shelby County. We're coming in the 50s this morning for temperatures. 56 in Memphis, 57 in Brownsville, and 54 degrees in Holly Springs right now. I'll show you the temperatures for the rest of the day. Plus, we'll look more into the timing for all that rain I just showed you coming up my First Alert forecast.
This First Alert traffic report is sponsored by Gateway Tires.
Still watching right shoulder to be blocked here. This is along 385 at Winchester Road, and just based on the traffic flow, thinking this is on those south and eastbound lanes, and we've got more traffic there on those northbound lanes. So no major delay, but just keep in mind that you're going to want to slow down and move over. And again, that's right there at Winchester. Taking a look at our maps this morning, plenty of green still showing up here in both directions on our traffic tracker for this morning. Our interstates are also running smoothly. I do see a couple of secondary road crashes, one of them on Lamar at Airways, Southern Avenue at Lundy, and then Mount Moriah Road at Harmonwood Lane.
We're following some breaking news from overnight. Memphis police were on the scene of a shooting on Park Avenue. Officers say 3 people were found shot and taken to the hospital. 2 are listed as non-critical, and 1 is listed as critical condition. Now, new this morning, we spoke with people who witnessed the shooting last night. We spoke to one woman who said she doesn't understand why incidents like this keep happening.
It makes me way more aware of my surroundings because that could have been me. I just left out of there, turned the corner, and then boom, shots are fired.
No suspect information has been given at this time. Also breaking, Memphis police issued a city watch alert for a missing 12-year-old. Take a look at your screen. Memphis police are looking for Sabrina Yarbrough. She ran away from her home on Scenic Pines near the airport area. Sabrina's father said that she last saw her at 7 p.m. Wednesday night. If you have seen Sabrina or know where she is, call Memphis police. Ahead today, day 5 of the trial of Billy Ray Turner is set to get underway today. Yesterday, the prosecution's star witness took the stand. Confessed conspirator Jimmy Martin was the first to put defendant Billy Ray Turner directly involved with plotting the murder of Wright. Martin, who is Shara Wright's first cousin, testified that there were 2 meetings involving Shara, Turner, and himself. Today in court, they are expected to discuss those meetings. The trial is expected to continue this morning at 9:30. The makeshift memorial that's grown since rapper Young Dolph was killed at Makita's Cookies on Airways Boulevard is now being taken down. Those teddy bears, candles, and balloons were all removed. The only items left are posters with pictures of Young Dolph and messages from his fans. But still this morning, the question remains what exactly is going to happen to that building since Makita's Cookies says that they will not reopen that location. The owner of that building as well as Makita's Cookies have not commented on what they want to see happen to that location. Well, happening today, one of the men accused in Young Dolph's murder is set to appear in court this morning. Justin Johnson will be in court not on the charge of murder of Young Dolph, but on a sex registration violation charge. An attorney that was appointed to him in Young Dolph's murder case will also represent him in this case. His attorney says that he's not sure if he was ever convicted of a sexual assault or rape in 2015, therefore should not be on the sex offender registry in the first place. The hearing is set for 9 o'clock this morning. Tennessee finance campaign regulators have voted to pass along their investigation surrounding a former House Speaker and his then Chief of Staff. Glenn Cassida, who's still in the legislature, and his former Chief of Staff, Kate Cawthorn, have been implicated in a political consulting kickback scheme that another Senator, Robin Smith, recently pleaded guilty to carrying out with them. The Tennessee legislature finance voted to send the investigation to the Williamson County's district attorney for possible prosecution. Horror is unfolding across Ukraine as civilian shelters are being lethally attacked by Russian forces. A theater and swimming facility where hundreds were taking refuge were bombed. Take a look at the aftermath of this airstrike. Cole Higgins has the latest on the crisis in Ukraine.
The bodies of innocent people strewn across the sidewalk in Chernihiv, Ukraine, killed by a Russian rocket while they were waiting in line for bread. Flames rage and black smoke billows from a bombed theater where hundreds were taking refuge in Mariupol. Their fate is unknown. The word children was spelled out in Ukrainian on both sides of the theater before the bombing, satellite images show. About 2.5 miles away, a public swimming pool also being used as a civilian shelter has been hit by a Russian military strike.
It is a crime to intentionally target civilians. It is a crime to intentionally target civilian objects. We have reasonable grounds to believe crimes within the jurisdiction of the court are being committed.
As blood spills, lives are lost, and cities are mercilessly destroyed across Ukraine, President Biden now says Russian President Vladimir Putin is committing war crimes.
I think he is a war criminal.
The president's remarks speak for themselves. He was speaking from his heart and speaking from what he's seen on television, which is barbaric actions by a brutal dictator through his invasion of a foreign country.
I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
An American who was seeking medical treatment for his partner in that country was killed by Russian forces. James Whitney Hill of Minnesota was in Ukraine to support his partner who was seeking treatment for multiple sclerosis. In a final chilling Facebook post on March 15th, he said, quote, "Bombing has intensified, no way out." Now at 6:30, our sister station in Jackson, Mississippi spoke with one woman who escaped Ukraine. Memphis native attorney Tamara Walker is now one of the attorneys representing actor Jussie Smollett. Smollett was released from jail after just 6 days. He's appealing his sentence. Before Walter's 21-year career as a lawyer, she attended St. Mary's Episcopal School for Girls and White Station High School here in Memphis. Now she's fighting for the rights of the actor who the jury said lied about staging a hate crime. At his sentencing, Smollett said that he wasn't suicidal and that if something happened to him while he was in jail, he did not do it to himself.
We advised him not to speak. However, when you're in a life moment that you never imagined yourself in, all sorts of things run through your head, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. So it's unfortunate that at a time like that, his mind went to Sandra Bland. His mind went to, because he's a high profile person, Jeffrey Epstein.
Walker said that Smollett's legal team is fighting for his innocence and believes that his sentence was too harsh. The U.S. is extending its public transit mask mandate for another month instead of letting it expire today. But some good news this morning. Case counts are going down nationwide. Now officials are talking about the transition out of the emergency phase. The CDC recommends that some people remain masked up in indoor public spaces as of now.
We want to make sure that people have an opportunity to relax their mitigation strategies when things are good, as they are right now.
Moderna says it is asking to add another booster for emergency use for adults. Pfizer wants another one for those 65 and older. The Oxford Police Department has a new member to its force, a black Labrador retriever named Jocko. Jocko is 1 year old and spent several months at a Little Rock Canine Academy before 2 weeks training with his handler, Officer Brandon Bird. The new canine has been trained in narcotics detection, tracking, and article searches. The Oxford community will be able to meet with Jocko at upcoming community events and demonstrations.
Friday. The good news is that all this heavy rain that we've had since early this morning is on its way out. All this is moving east. So eastern Arkansas drying out. Shelby County also no longer seeing any rain. Roads are still going to be wet though, so you'll still have that water spraying on your car when you're driving. But first alert Doppler radar still picking up on some pretty heavy rain here going from Ripley, Corinth, into Selmer, just pouring as you're making your way through those areas. I still have about a 40% chance of rain in the forecast for the next hour. Again, mostly for northeast Mississippi and West Tennessee, where where we're still seeing that rain. And then lower rain chances through the morning, but temperatures will stay in the 50s for your first alert evening commute forecast. Some winds picking up around 30 miles per hour at 4 o'clock. We'll hit 66 degrees, 63 at 5, and then by 6 o'clock, 60 degrees. But I don't have any rain in the forecast this evening. I'll let you know when these clouds are going to clear out coming up my first alert forecast.
This first alert traffic report is sponsored by Gateway Tires.
We do have the right shoulder that is blocked here on 385 this morning. This is right at the intersection of Winchester Road. So allow yourself some extra travel time. I'm thinking this is those south and eastbound lanes. We've got less of a traffic flow, so that would indicate to me that we've got traffic traveling towards the south away from Memphis this morning. So try to move over and slow down if you can. Taking a look at our maps this morning, no major delays out there. We do have a couple of secondary road crashes. We've got two of them pretty close to one another. One of them on Southern Avenue at Lundy Street, another one on Lamar Avenue at Airways Boulevard. Starting to see a little bit more congestion there along Lamar Avenue, so allow yourself extra travel time as you're trying to pass through that junction. Again, no major delays, but of course we'll let you know if that changes throughout the morning.
The Memphis Tigers will be hitting the hardwood tomorrow night for round 2 in the NCAA tournament. Find out what the team is saying about yesterday's historic win. But first, there's a lot of money talk going on in the Mississippi State Capitol as we enter the last few weeks in the legislative session. Many of those decisions are going unanswered, like how they will spend ARPA funds. Hear what legislators on both sides of the aisle have to say. And new details in a Texas car crash that left 9 dead. The age of that driver, along with what could have caused that crash, is next. You're watching Action News 5 at 6 a.m.
Taking action for you. You're watching Action News 5 at 6.
The end of this legislative session is inching closer in Mississippi, and many decisions still have to be made, like how to spend ARPA funds. Mississippi was granted $1.8 billion in these funds from the federal government as a form of economic boost after the COVID-19 pandemic. Courtney Ann Jackson from our sister station WLBT in Jackson, Mississippi reports.
Conversations started before the session on what to do with the $1.8 billion in ARPA funds, but now
Status is it's not coming out. You know, it's stuck.
Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann says they've sent the Senate bills to conference, but he doesn't believe it needs to come down to the wire without full discussions on the impactful projects the money could be directed to.
Any conference where we can discuss any one or all of those, from rural water to the National Guard, from Child Protective Services to you name it, broadband. We're here, we're ready, we want to go to work. We are very concerned that this is getting hung up here in the last 2 weeks of the session.
Actions by the U.S. House of Representatives last week also adds some urgency for senators afraid money could be drawn back by the feds if not handled soon.
If we leave here and we haven't allocated it, and they did act before we could act, we as a body run the risk of losing perhaps one of the largest amounts of monies to ever come into our state.
Their proposal was if the project had not been obligated, and we haven't obligated any projects because we haven't even been able to get the cooperation to be able to get the money out and the programs designated to start that process. So that's where we are, and you never know what could happen.
We wait another year, that means that we're behind every other state in spending this money.
Inflation is another factor.
Wait a year, inflation is running about 7%. So next year, when I come to spend my 1.8, it's really 1.65.
And it's not just Republicans pleading for action to take place soon.
In any circumstance, I don't know if it means a special session, whatever it means, whether it means crossing the desert, fighting fire, kicking a policeman, we must get that money for bridges and roads because we're in desperate need of them in the Mississippi Delta and all over this state.
That was Courtney Ann Jackson reporting. Speaker Philip Gunn did not reply to this allegation of a legislative gridlock in a letter, saying that the Senate has claimed a severe revenue shortfall is looming, and that's why the state can't eliminate the income tax. He says that it is hypocrisy that the Senate says that and then come back to say that they propose spending all of the ARPA money instead of keeping it in reserves. New this morning, the NTSB says that a 13-year-old was driving the truck when it crashed, killing several members of a college golf team traveling through Texas. Officials say the front left tire of the truck, which was a spare, failed, and that's what caused the truck to swerve into oncoming traffic, colliding head-on with the van. 9 people were killed, including both people in the truck.
You won't be able to see the vehicles directly, but we have literally thousands of pictures that were taken by the various first responders, and there is no question about the force of impact.
The NTSB says while their investigation is still in early stages, they believe several people in both vehicles were not wearing seatbelts. The Memphis Tigers are moving on to the next round in the Big Dance after a huge win over Boise State. It's been a long time since the Tigers have made it to the NCAA tournament. 8 years. Action News 5's Talia Fagart is live now with more as the Tigers head basketball coach Penny Hardaway reflects on his first tournament win. And Talia, I know he's waking up with a huge smile on his face this morning.
Oh, you already know. He called it a fantastic win when describing yesterday's game. And, you know, in a tournament where every team is talented, he said the guys worked hard. And that hard work really paid off. He was breathing a sigh of relief when that buzzer hit. He says them being in the tournament was not only a big deal for the school, but for the city of Memphis. Then to get to the tournament and to get the first win just really added to that excitement. He says he was filled with nothing but gratefulness for seniors like Alex Lomack. He said he was on cloud 9, saying he felt like a kid at the candy store with his first NCAA appearance and win. The fans really felt that too. All across the Bluff City, they spent their afternoon cheering on the Tigers, and they'll be bringing that excitement through to the next round. The Tigers will be facing off #1 seed Gonzaga tomorrow night at 8:40. Reporting live at the University of Memphis, Talia Fagart, Action News 5.
Talia, thanks. The Tigers aren't the only local team to advance in the NCAA tournament. The Tennessee Vols defeated the Longwood Lancers. The Vols played for keeps yesterday. Santiago Vescovi led the way with 18 points with 6 of 8 from downtown. Josiah Jordan-James and Memphian Kennedy Chandler put up 13. Vols win with the final score of 88-56. Tennessee will play against Michigan tomorrow in Indiana. The Memphis Grizzlies are on the road to go to Atlanta to play against the Atlanta Hawks. Tip-off is at 6:30 tonight. The Grizz have won 4 games in a row. John Morant is listed as questionable for tonight's game. He did miss Tuesday's big win over the Pacers with back soreness. After Atlanta, the Grizzlies will return home Sunday to play against the Rockets.
If you wait till a little bit longer, if you're not leaving the house for another hour, you probably won't have to deal with much of this rain. In fact, it's already cleared out of eastern Arkansas, most of West Tennessee along the Mississippi River and northwest Mississippi, also drying out for a little bit at this point. On First Alert Doppler radar, though, you can see that there's still some areas dealing with that rain as it makes its way off to the east. There have been a few strikes of lightning, though I'm not currently seeing any, but Corinth and Selmer, some wind gusts around 30 miles per hour there, some bands of heavy rain. These showers stretching down into Walnut and Ripley, some light rain making its way out of Holly Springs and Oxford. And as I mentioned, we're starting to see that conditions really dry out here for many areas in the Mid-South. But there's still some heavy rain sitting off to the west. This low pressure system, you see that spin there, that's that moisture spinning around that low, is going to continue to track east. So that's actually going to deliver us more rain a little bit later on today, mostly for our northern counties, though. First Alert Futurecast at 8 a.m. Some light showers continuing near Harrisburg, Blytheville, maybe even Memphis seeing some light rain. But the batch of heavy rain that we're still dealing with in northeast Mississippi will be done. Now, the greatest instability levels will be after noon today. Noon to 5 o'clock is when instability will be highest, especially up towards Harrisburg, Blytheville, and Dyersburg. So this is 2 o'clock today. Notice some isolated thunderstorms developing in those spots. So that's the time of day when we'll have to monitor these closely. By 7 o'clock tonight, though, this is out of here, that will still hold on to the clouds. So I told you instability higher in our northern counties. There's a 2 out of 5 there. We'll be watching for the risk of damaging wind gusts. So first alert for Dyer County, Tipton County, Lauderdale County, and up into Crockett County as well. But thankfully, this moves out this afternoon. Tonight's dry, Saturday's dry, 64 degrees on Saturday, 72 on Sunday. We will have clouds lingering around for most of the day Saturday, unfortunately. But as we get later in the afternoon into early evening, those clouds will finally move out. 74 on Monday, so the warmer weather stays with us at the start of next week, but a cold front moves through Tuesday, so by Thursday, highs are back down to the 50s.
This First Alert traffic report is sponsored by Gateway Tires.
This morning, police still on the scene with the right shoulder blocked here along 385. I think this is those southbound lanes just based on that traffic flow. This is right at the intersection of Winchester Road. Slow down and try to move over if you can, as we do have that right shoulder that's blocked. Taking a look at our maps this morning, right there is where it is. And you still see plenty of green, so no major delays out there. As I zoom out and turn on the radar along with it, again, as Brittany mentioned, we've got that heavy batch of rain that's now continuing to push east. So we've got some heavy rain over towards Ripley, into Selmer, and also into Alcorn County and into Corinth, too. A couple of crashes have been reported throughout the area this morning. Nothing on the interstates themselves, but we do have a crash on Lamar at Airways Boulevard. There is a little bit of a delay there, so allow yourself extra travel time as there's not a great alternate route there. We've also got a crash on Southern Avenue at Lundy Street. And then as we take a look over towards Poplar Avenue and Rowan Lane, we've got a stalled vehicle. But again, I'm not seeing a big delay this morning. But regardless if it's actively raining or not, we still have some very wet roadways out there. Wipers on, lights on this morning. And as Brittany mentioned, we are going to be watching for some breaks in the rain showers as we're heading throughout the later on this morning.
The magic of movement is on full display in one dance class. The benefits for senior citizens taking ballet class coming up in our Best Life report. Welcome back. Well, we all know that exercising and eating right are key to staying healthy, but one exercise is helping you age gracefully. Researchers from the National Institute on Aging suggest participants participating in the arts may not only improve your physical well-being, but your mental health as well. Now, one woman uses ballet to help get the elderly off their walkers. Vanessa Woods says ballet dancing is actually beneficial to all ages, and most importantly,
find a time in your day to do some movement, even if it's just extending your foot out into the air or your wrist and just gently moving. Some just gentle range of motion movements are so beneficial.
The physical benefits of dancing on aging bodies is well established, but a study out of Boston shows that the joy in a weekly dance class improves energy and mental outlook. New efforts to make sure mass power outages don't happen again. Coming up in our next half hour of Action News 5 at 6 a.m., find out how MLGW is planning to do just that. Plus, a Clinton, Mississippi woman escaped Ukraine amid the destruction caused by Russian forces. She describes her journey to get out of the conflict. And the Memphis Tigers are advancing in the NCAA tournament, how the tournament is giving big revenue to the Bluff City. And as we take a live look from our High 5 camera at Midtown, we are tracking rain in the Mid-South. First Alert meteorologist Brittany Bryant has your first alert to when storms will impact your day, along with Aaron Thomas tracking the morning drive. You're never more than 7 minutes away from weather and traffic on the station that's taking action for you. Action News 5 at 6:30 starts right after the break.
Taking action for you. Action News 5 at 6:30 starts now.
Now at 6:30, searching for solutions. After thousands of customers were left without power and in the dark after February's ice storm, MLGW is now looking for answers on how to prevent another mass outage. Find out MLGW's plan to fix this problem.
I'm sad that I can recognize a place by the ruins now, not by the beauty.
Plus, we are now starting to hear personal accounts from people who fled Ukraine to the United States to escape Russia's efforts to take over the country. Hear a local woman's story on how she fled Ukraine and her experiences before she left. And as the Tigers advance in the NCAA tournament, betting is expected to increase where the revenue is going in the Mid-South. And good Friday morning, and thank you for joining me for Action News 5 at 6:30. I'm Noah Sershin in for Joy Redmond and Andrew Douglas. And phew, we have finally made it to the weekend, but we have a little rain to start your Friday. Let's bring in First Alert meteorologist Brittany Bryant with a timing on the rain. But Brittany, the rain's okay since we've already made it to the weekend.
We've made it to the weekend. Also some good news. We already made it through the batch of rain. Probably moved through mostly while you were sleeping, though those rumbles of thunder may have woken you up. At this point in Midtown Memphis, clouds even starting to break up. You can actually spot the moon now. That was not the case earlier, but clouds will build back in, so not much sunshine expected, at least early today. First alert Doppler radar here. No rain in West Tennessee or Northwest Mississippi near the Mississippi River. Eastern Arkansas also drying out. I'm tracking some downpours in Alcorn, McNairy County. Some are going into Corinth along 45. Some lighter rain in Ripley and also in Selmer. But overall, most of us starting to clear out, and that rain will continue to push east over the next hour. We're coming into the 50s in Tunica, Memphis, 56 in Brownsville, 55 in Corinth. But you may be surprised how warm it will get this afternoon. I'll show you those high temperatures just ahead of my first alert forecast.
This first alert traffic report is sponsored by Gateway Tires.
Still watching this crash along 385 this morning. This is at the Winchester Junction there. So slow down, move over. Right lanes and shoulders blocked here. Starting to see some more brake lights here in this area. So again, be prepared to merge over towards the left as you're traveling through this junction. Let's take a look at our maps this morning. So a little bit of congestion that we just saw there, but no major delays out there at that particular intersection. Zooming out, just like Brittany was just talking about, we've got some of those heavier rain bands pushing throughout portions of McNairy County, Alcorn County, and down into Ripley too. Still going to have some wet roadways though across the metro area, so be prepared to have your windshield wipers on this morning with some of that spraying from other vehicles.
Aaron, thanks. One Memphis City Councilwoman is wishing there were more people present for the first meeting of the Shelby County leaders, is looking to improve the response to severe weather in the area. MLGW President and CEO J.T. Young says he and Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland discussed putting together the Outage Advisory Improvement Team in response to the power outage caused by the February 3rd ice storm that left thousands of MLGW customers without power. Councilwoman Patrice Robinson, who is a part of the team, said that the information was helpful but was disappointed with the turnout.
We have a 5-year plan that the city council approved so that we can improve our infrastructure. We have improved over the last 2 years by 19.2%. That's, to me, that is saying we're moving in the right direction. But citizens don't know that.
Young said that the goal of the first meeting was to educate the team on how the system works. Well, after nearly a decade, MATA began testing on their Madison Avenue trolley line. Their transit authority says initial testing is set for Sunday at 5 a.m. During that time, they will energize the tracking systems. The Madison trolley line was closed in April of 2014 after a trolley car caught on fire with passengers inside. A Clinton, Mississippi native recounts her recent escape from Ukraine. She calls the country home for the last 20 years. Britton Hall from our sister station WLBT in Jackson, Mississippi has more on this woman's journey.
We left everything that we owned in Ukraine.
Clinton native Becky Duet endured some heavy moments during her escape from Ukraine, watching fathers say goodbye to their wives and children without knowing if they'd ever see them again.
We saw a young couple that just couldn't leave each other. They would walk a little ways and then hug, and walk a little ways and then hug. And when it finally got to the point that the husband could go no further, they probably hugged for 10, 15 minutes.
She says the hardest thing of all is watching Vladimir Putin use evil tactics against her people.
It appears as though the Russians are using women and children against the Ukrainians. I've even heard of them massacring, pulling women and children out of the cars and shooting them point blank. So that the men could see it, and trying to demoralize the Ukrainian men.
Despite the chaos and destruction, Duet says leaving her home of nearly 3 decades wasn't an easy decision, and watching war coverage from afar isn't easy either.
I have faces and I have places, and you know, I was telling someone this morning as I look on Facebook or I look at the news and I see a place, I'm sad that I can recognize a place by the ruins now, not by the beauty.
But through all the death, Duet says there's still life.
I have a good friend who had a brand new grandchild born last night, and she's in Kyiv. And, you know, I look at that and I think, wow, life still is going on.
And through all the fear, there's still plenty of fight.
Slava Ukraina, Slava Ukraina. Glory to Ukraine, because we're going to stand up to him. And, you know, he may be mighty, he may be from a big country, but Ukraine is going to knock his knees out from under him.
That was Brendan Hall reporting. Duet has a flight back to Ukraine on July 15th. While she admits that she's extremely optimistic, she says she's trying to keep the hope alive. To hear more on her escape and what life was like in Ukraine, click on this story on our website, actionnews5.com. A Russian court is extending the arrest of U.S. basketball player Brittany Griner. Moscow authorities say that the two-time Olympian gold medalist was taken into custody after she allegedly smuggled drugs in February. According to a Russian state news agency, the arrest will last until May 19th. 31-year-old Griner is a U.S. citizen who plays on the Russian basketball team, which she has suited up for since 2015. The Memphis Tigers are still dancing after they moved on to the next round of the NCAA tournament after yesterday's big win against Boise State. The infectious excitement is spreading into online sports betting. Action News 5's Talia Fager joins us live now with more on the sports betting boom, along with where all of this money is going. Good morning, Talia.
Good morning. Millions of people will be using their phones and betting apps to kind of get into some of that NCAA action, and many are hoping to win some of that green. Online sports betting became legal in Tennessee back in 2018. Since then, $2.3 billion have been wagered, according to data from Playton, and Tennessee has received $35 million in tax revenue from sports betting. The tax revenue goes back into communities all across the state. According to Playton, 80% of that money funds scholarships and grants for students. 15% of it goes to local governments to work on roads and other infrastructure needs. And that last 5% goes to fighting gambling addiction. So the thrill of having the opportunity to win some quick money from a sometimes unpredictable tournament has the state of Tennessee on pace for a record-breaking sports betting year. Aside from the Super Bowl, March Madness is one of the most significant sports betting events all throughout the state. Reporting live, Talia Fagart, Action News 5.
It poured overnight, a quarter to a half inch for most of the area. Roads are still wet from that, but not currently seeing any rain falling on First Alert Doppler radar in eastern Arkansas. Shelby up into Dyer County dry, most of North Mississippi, though a few counties still seeing some rain. If you're in Ripley or Walnut, light rain there. Heavier rain for Alcorn, McNairy County, going from Selmer into Corinth. You'll have the windshield wipers on full speed this morning. But after we get past this morning, rain chances drop down. Only about a 20 to 30% chance of rain between noon and 3 o'clock today, and we're in the mid 60s at noon, 69 degrees at 3 o'clock. I think some of us could even make it up into the mid 70s in North Mississippi this afternoon. By 5 o'clock, hanging out in the lower 60s. We are expecting a slight drop in temperatures tomorrow. I'll show you those coming up my First Alert forecast.
This First Alert traffic report is sponsored by Gateway Tires.
As we're approaching the 7 o'clock hour, we do have the right lane and shoulder that is blocked here along 385 at Winchester. Been watching this throughout the morning. It looks like there is a wrecker that is working to pull a vehicle that left the roadway. So I'm starting to see some more brake lights here in this area. It's kind of coming and going in batches, but be prepared to move over towards the left, as again, we do have those right lanes blocked this morning. Taking a look at our map, still plenty of green in this area, so we're not seeing a major slowdown, but you are going to be running into some more brake lights. Still passable there. And then, as Brittany mentioned, we've got some of those heavier showers now pushing off towards the east. Elsewhere, though, we are still going to have some wet roadways across the area. So wipers on this morning and your lights, too. We'll have a couple of passing showers as we head into this afternoon, as Brittany mentioned.
Coming up on Action News 5 at 6:30, video has been released in an African-American man tased during a traffic stop in East Tennessee. Hear what the attorney has to say about this incident.
Taking action. For you. You're watching Action News 5 at 6:30.
Video of a Chattanooga man getting tased by a police officer near Chattanooga has been released by the man and his attorney. Chattanooga attorney Ryan Wheeler says that his client, Delaney Gordon, was delivering for the food delivery company DoorDash when he was pulled over by a College Gate police officer. As Dallas Payton reports, Wheeler says that the traffic stop should not have escalated like it did.
Get out of the car.
Please don't hurt me. Why are
Get
you doing
out.
this? No, sir.
I'm telling you to get out.
I'm telling you that this is not lawful.
Chattanooga attorney Ryan Wheeler says this all started when a Collegedale police officer made a U-turn and pulled Gordon over for speeding. Wheeler says from there, Gordon respectfully engaged the officer, but the conversation escalated. That's when Gordon started to record. Wheeler says in the video you can see Gordon with his ID before he was tased and forcefully removed from the car by the officer.
Our goal here is to raise awareness,
kind of on incidents like this, because you've got members of the community who are scared of any type of interaction with law enforcement. And we think that, you know, incidents like this are a big part of the reason why.
Wheeler says Gordon has no criminal history and has never been in this kind of predicament.
And so this was very traumatic for him. My client was scared, and that's why, you know, he was asking the questions that he was asking and behaving in the way that he was behaving because he was fearful for his safety at that point.
Wheeler claims during the entire interaction, his client was never disrespectful or presented himself as a threat to the officer. He says the body camera footage will back up Gordon's claims.
We are in the process of seeking that at this point. So there should be, and hopefully we can get that footage, because we do want, you know, the truth to come out on this matter.
Wheeler wants to make it clear that this is not in any way an indictment on the Collegedale Police Department.
We do a lot of work over in Collegedale. I've known, you know, officers it's definitely a professional organization. This incident here falls well below that standard, though, and you know, it's, for me, just seeing what I've seen in the video is inexcusable for a simple traffic stop to escalate to this violent encounter that we see.
The Collegedale Police Department is also conducting an investigation into the officer's conduct during the traffic stop. They released a statement saying, in part, the Collegedale Police Department has been made aware of the investigation request made by District Attorney Neil Pinkston regarding a traffic stop that happened on March 10th and will be cooperating fully with Hamilton County Sheriff's Office as they conduct their independent investigation.
That was Dallas Payton reporting. Gordon was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct, speeding, and resisting arrest. Gordon's attorney says that they will fight to get those charges dismissed in court. The drought hitting the western United States could worsen in the next coming months. Now, according to NOAA, the agency announced its spring outlook this week. Forecasters predicted, quote, prolonged persistent drought in the West for a second year in a row, and below average rain is likely. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is keeping Dolly Parton in its ballot even though she asked to bow out. Parton says that she wanted to decline her nomination because she compared it to being put in the AC/DC and Country Music Hall of Fame. However, Dolly will still be nominated. The Hall of Fame responded saying, quote, we are in awe of Dolly. Several country music legends who have influenced the rock music are in the hall already, like Hank Williams and Brenda Lee. Besides, 1,200 ballots have already gone to Dolly Parton. If selected, she could join diverse nominees like Eminem and Duran Duran.
Well, this morning, early before I think most of us ended up getting up, there was a lot of heavy rain. Now, not currently raining in Oxford. It just moved out of there. That batch of rain is moving east, but you'll notice the roads are still wet. So that'll be the case probably for the next 2 hours. The winds are pretty strong. They're about 30 miles per hour in some spots, so that will help dry out the roads quickly. But we're at 50 degrees in Oxford, 56 in Somerville, 54 in Tunica. Let me show you the Memphis sunrise. It doesn't look much better than that, 56 degrees in Memphis. We briefly saw some breaks in the clouds, but looks like they've now built back in again in Memphis. First alert Doppler radar. Again, that rain mostly has moved out of our area. Just a few lingering showers in Corinth and Selmer, other areas of McNairy, Alcorn County. There were a few strikes of lightning there, but that's now moved out as well. But we're not totally done with the rain yet. There's a low pressure system sitting off to the west that's bringing some heavy rain into Missouri, a few thunderstorms there. And that system is possibly going to just barely clip some of our northern counties later and give us a chance for a few thunderstorms. So after that main line moves out that we're seeing in northeast Mississippi, then we'll probably dry out for most of the area. But by 10 a.m., there could be some strong storms that pick back up in Lauderdale and Dyer County, and maybe even into Blytheville, seeing some downpours. And a few of those scattered thunderstorms hanging out through around 3 o'clock today. The greatest threat will be off to our north. We will have to monitor those storms with some instability in place for some gusty winds. By 7 o'clock tonight, any leftover rain is completely out of here. It'll be dry tonight and dry over the weekend too for your first alert weekend forecast, but there will be some clouds hanging out for most of the day Saturday. We'll still make it to 64 degrees, more sunshine Sunday with a high around 72 degrees. And if you like the warmer weather, I have some good news for you. At least for a few days next week, we'll still be in the 70s, but a cold front moves through on Tuesday. That's going to bring us our next chance for some strong to severe thunderstorms. But behind that front, temperatures drop down to the 50s on Thursday.
This First Alert traffic report is sponsored by Gateway Tires.
TDOT has just arrived to the scene to hopefully help with this traffic flow here. We've got a vehicle that appears to have gone off the roadway, a wrecker there on the scene with the right lanes and shoulders blocked along 385 right at the junction of Winchester Road. So I've been seeing some of these brake lights this morning as everyone's slowing down and trying to merge over to the left. So be prepared for a slight delay this morning. Nothing major out there. As we take a look at our maps, we'll still see plenty of green in this area. But again, those lane restrictions have been implemented while crews work to get this crash cleared this morning. As Brittany mentioned, no active rainfall across most of the area. Still wet roadways, though. You might have to have the windshield wipers on periodically if you're driving behind somebody and it's spraying on your windshield. Of course, more of those heavier rain showers over towards Selmer into Corinth, and some of those lighter rain showers down towards Ripley, Mississippi as well. Taking a look at our drive times this morning, I-55 northbound from Crump Boulevard to the I-40 and 55 junction. Smooth sailing, about 5 minutes this morning, and then from 55 southbound MLK to Macklemore, also about 5 minutes this morning.
Good morning. Amanda Hansen here to share some of the fun and interesting interviews we have set up to wrap up the week on the Action News 5 digital desk starting at 8 o'clock this morning. The Broadway hit show Cats is returning to the Orpheum stage March 22nd through the 27th. And we're giving you a backstage look through the eyes of a cast member making his national tour debut. You can look forward to that at 9 o'clock. Plus, sleep can have a major impact on your overall health. Well, this morning, we turn to an expert to see what 5 mistakes you could be making that's keeping you from getting the amount of rest that you need. And with Russia's attack on Ukraine, there's a lot of important conversations happening about cybersecurity. But how do cybersecurity threats impact insurance? And has technology advanced to help insurers assess the impact and risk of a cybersecurity attack? We're going to take a deep dive on the topic this morning on the Action News 5 Digital Desk.
Thanks, Amanda. If you want to watch the digital desk, we have made it easy for you. Just click on Watch Live on the actionnews5.com homepage or app. If you're on the go, you can also watch Amanda Hansen on the digital desk via our other streaming platforms like Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. Top stories are on the other side of the break. Stay with us. And now to this morning's top stories. Memphis police have issued a city watch alert for a missing 12-year-old. Take a look at your screen. Memphis police are looking for Sabrina Yarbrough. She ran away from her home on Scenic Pines near the airport area. Sabrina's father says that she last saw her at 7 p.m. Wednesday night. If you have seen Sabrina or know where she is, call the Memphis Police Department. Memphis police responded to a shooting overnight on Park Avenue. Officers say that 3 people were found shot and taken to the hospital. 2 are listed as non-critical and 1 is listed as critical. No suspect information has been given. Day 5 of the trial of Billy Ray Turner is set to get underway today. Yesterday, the prosecution's star witness took the stand. Confessed conspirator Jimmy Martin was the first to put defendant Billy Ray Turner directly involved with plotting the murder of Wright. Martin, who is Shara Wright's first cousin, testified that there were 2 meetings involving Shara, Turner, and himself. Today in court, they are expected to discuss those meetings. The trial is expected to continue this morning at 9:30. Now let's get a final check of our morning drive with Aaron Thomas. Hey there, Aaron.
Hey there. As we're approaching the 7 o'clock hour, we've now got the scene that is cleared on 385 at Winchester Road. They just got that cleared with the right lanes now open, so no congestion, no brake lights happening this morning. But even though we're not seeing any active rainfall, you can clearly tell that those roadways are wet this morning. Be careful. Allow yourself still a little bit of extra travel time, as we will still see some of these wet roadways and even some spraying from vehicles as well, periodically needing those windshield wipers this morning. Brittany.
We heard Aaron mention that the roads are still wet. Well, most of us were sleeping. Rain moved through overnight. Now that last little bit of rain is making its way out of northeast Mississippi. We won't be completely done with it yet, though. I still have about a 20 to 30% chance of rain in the forecast through 3 o'clock today. After that, we will dry out. A high around 70 degrees this afternoon. Clouds linger even after the rain moves out. So tonight's cloudy with temperatures in the 40s. Saturday here on our First Alert 7-day forecast, 64 degrees. We'll start off with clouds, but we'll get more and more sunshine as we get later in the day on Saturday. Sunday is full of sun. For the first day of spring on Sunday, your high temperature is 72 degrees.
Thanks, Aaron and Brittany. Coming up on Action News 5 midday, as high as it is and as hard we work to purchase it, thieves are now starting to steal gas from gas stations across the country. The crime caught on camera is today when you join me for Action News 5 midday. Well, thank you for joining me for Action News 5 at 6 a.m. Joy and Andrew are back Monday. Have a great day and a great weekend.
Stream Action News 5 for free on actionnews5.com, on Roku, Amazon Fire TV,